right, so now I'm going to try to add some lines for detail. You can see here they've got some lines that are just added in a little bit, and we've got a cool little trick to do that, and then we can touch up that mask because you're not going to want every single part that's this blue color to have these lines. And initially, that's what's going to happen. Every single part that has that blue color on here is going to have those lines. So let's hop at it here. We're going to hide all of the layers, so all the eyeballs need to be turned off except for the layer with your person on it. And at this point, we've got just the person's layer going on. And then we need to take the eyedropper tool, or the magic wand, I guess, rather. And we're going to click in the area that's that middle blue color. Well, now you probably can't tell, so you might want to toggle on your channel mixer real quick, and then your gradient map, so you can kind of see. So like I know that this area of the face is going to have that blue color. So I'm going to go ahead and toggle these back off, and I'm going to click on this area of the face, which is going to highlight that. Now, if there's another area, which you can kind of tell which areas there are, you can put your magic wand on plus and add other areas in there too if you want to. So I could add in this one as well, or if there was somewhere else that you wanted to add, you could, like in the eyes or whatever. But I'm just going to keep it where it is. All right, then we're going to create a new layer above the person. And then we're going to immediately add a layer mask, which is going to make a mask for this little area. It's going to put that area there. Now, there's nothing in that area, so it's going to be an empty mask. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to hit my button. Okay, so you get something like this. Okay, and then we're going to, on this new layer, where the transparency part is, we're going to paint on this layer with a gray. So we're going to click on the layer, not the mask. And just click over here to make it black, and then click over here, and let's just set it to 50% of black, which is gray, right? So 50%, hit OK, and then just take a nice big paintbrush, and you can just paint on here. We're just filling the whole layer, basically, so, I mean, a big old paintbrush is perfectly fine. So you're going to paint that in here, and because it's a layer mask, you're not going to see it except where that magic wand area was selected. So that area that was that light brown a minute ago is now gray, okay? So we've got that in there, and probably you should go ahead and name that layer. I'm going to call that layer lines because that's what these are going to turn into. Now to turn them into lines, we take that gray layer, and we're going to go ahead and turn all the layers back on, and we're going to put this above all of these layers. So I'm going to turn all these back on and put it all the way at the top of the adjustment layers. Don't put it in front of your word box, just at the top of your adjustment layers. I'll go ahead and turn all these others on too. Okay. Now I'm clicked back on this one, and on the lines layer, we're just going to apply a filter. So just right on back up to filter, and then sketch is what we're looking for. And then we're going to create what's called a halftone. And this pattern that we use in the halftone, we're going to set our pattern to lines, which will then give us lines like this. And the settings that I used were 1 and 50. That gives the lines a little bit of a darker to it. And then when you hit OK, you should end up with lines instead of the blue area that you have. So now they have lines in them. Now those lines are from this line, this specific layer. So if I turn that off, it goes back to the other blue. So what you can do then is hide parts of those lines. So you would paint in black with a black paintbrush on the mask. So make sure you're clicked on the mask. And of course my brush is humongous right now. You might want this to be kind of a hard paintbrush or not so soft, because nothing else is soft about this. Everything's got really hard edges to it on this. And then you can just kind of, depends on how you want to keep the lines. You know, if you want to have the dark part on the inside, then you could paint like on the insides of these or whatever to kind of keep the blue area. I'm painting with a touchpad right now. I don't have a mouse. So this is kind of hard to do. But anyway, you kind of get the gist of it. I don't know what kind of brush I have, but it's terrible. I'm going to reset my brushes. By the way, if you ever do get your brushes all crazy, just reset them back out to the normal brushes. That usually solves a lot of problems. All right, so anyway, there we go. Now it's nice and hard and easier to use. And then you just kind of go around, and we're just painting off the line. We're getting rid of lines in certain areas, and then keep them in other areas. And it's just totally up to you as to where you want this to be. Whatever you think looks good. Any area that you want the blue back, you're just going to hide the lines. So we're just adding this kind of for some contouring, basically, on this image. All right, so that's basically it. Once you've touched up the mask and you've got some little blue lines in there for contouring, you're just about finished. All we have to do is add your words and then basically create a rectangle and stroke it to put around the whole image for our border. So let's do that. I'm going to add my words. You should have already downloaded that Primetime Font. And so click on your type tool, and then you'll want to go ahead and set that to Primetime, which hopefully installed without a problem and you've got listed. For some reason, I couldn't type it in. I had to actually come over here and find it on the list. About 275 was the size I found that worked. Depends on what you're going to put here. Her name is Lexi, so I'm going to put Lexi in here. Now, obviously, these words are going to need to go up top, and they are going to be the blue over here that we had. So I'm going to go ahead and click on our light blue. And then, of course, I need to make sure this is above the word box. So scoot that up. And scoot it down. Now, we're still going to be adding a border around this, so you may or may not have to make your box a little bit smaller. It just depends. If you do use like a 5-letter word, you may need to make this a little bit smaller, obviously, to fit all 5 letters in. All right, last thing is to create the rectangle over the top of everything and stroke it. Now, we're actually creating an invisible rectangle, believe it or not. We're going to go ahead and draw it. Makes no difference what color because we're going to get rid of the color. So you want to make sure it covers the whole thing. It should line up. Hopefully it'll snap to the edges real good. If not, you can always fix that. Again, this color doesn't matter because we're going to remove the fill. Fill at 0. And then add a stroke. Now we won't see the stroke very well because it's going to add it to the outside. So as we make it bigger, we would never see it because it's outside the canvas. So we're going to set it to an inside stroke. Roughly 50 pixels looks pretty good. And it's going to use that yellow color. So you'll come out here and you can just eyedrop the yellow and steal it from the picture. And there we go. And then at this point, all you need to do is make any changes in placement. So like down here, I can choose my text layer. I could change the font size a little bit, or I could just Control P and scale it down a little bit. That's fine too. As long as you like the way the letters look. There's not like a perfectly right or wrong way to set your words up. All right, and then let's just look and see what it looks like. Of course, you'll want to save it, and then you'll also want to save a copy for your portfolio. But to print and preview it, I'm just going to go to File and Print and take a look and see how it looks. And here it comes. I'm going to scale it down to fit, and there we go. So there's my own version of this Barack Obama Hope poster. And of course, you could add additional things to it if you wanted to. You know, he's got a little logo that's in there. And some of the other examples do as well. But that's a pretty good starting point. So there